Your lightest was
175.
and he was a lean, mean machine.
Yeah, man.
Why'd you say was?
I know.
Because now I'm fat. I'm fat. I'm getting chubby again. I'm roll over here.
All right, welcome. It is the Built by Vitality podcast. I am Steve Pinkerton, and I'm sitting next to Philip Lewis. We have our first episode with guests today, and we, like I was telling Milton before, we actually asked about 14 other people first, and they said no.
Go figure.
So then we didn't really ask Milton and Ryan. We just kind of told them, hey, be here at 5. We've got something fun planned, and here they are. So I've got Milton Cardenas.
Correct.
And Ryan Horn.
That's good. I mean, he's known you for how many years?
Nah, it's almost 10
He's
years.
almost got it down. He's almost got it down.
Finally got it down.
So what we're going to do today is talk about Milton's been here for about 9.5, 10 years. Ryan actually started in my garage over 11 years ago. In my garage, like who, that's a whole nother question we'll get to, but who in the world signs up to go to someone's garage and train fitness? I mean, the amount of trust that you must have had was pretty incredible.
Well, you sold on the building because I mean, you were like, "Oh yeah, meet me at this building," and it's like, "Hey, cool! I've never seen a warehouse before.
It was in the garage.
Awesome! It's like this is awesome, man. When are you going to put things in it?" And you're like, "Well, until then, we're doing it at my house." And I remember after the first one, I was like, "I wonder what his neighbors wonder about this." I mean, because it was still relatively. It was not a known thing as CrossFit was, but you had people running up and down the streets, throwing balls up against your house.
I still remember we had Crowder and you, and we did a workout. I'll never forget it. And I told him he was doing thrusters and running. And I told him, I said, hey, make sure you do your thrusters on this side of the bar or whatever, so when you drop it, you run down the driveway and everything's good. Well, he did them on the other side. And when he put his bar down to run, he ran directly into his bar, shins, and he just rolled down the driveway. And Crowder, for those of you guys who don't know him, he's like a bowling ball, this huge mountain. He got no neck. He's in the Marines now. And he just rolled. I mean, I think he was bleeding from like 17 different places. He like slapped himself and kept running.
Still finished.
And then it's like, okay, at that point, I'm sure my neighbors were like, what in the world is happening, you know? But... so it was a cool opportunity to bring two people that have seen the evolution of not just CrossFit, but Vitality from the days of 2009 to now 2020. And not only has the transition been from building to building or whatever, but it's also been their journey from being 30, early 30s to now in your 40s. What is that like? And we can get a little bit into that. But I think a lot of people, they look at this and they're like, okay, well, I'm starting and I'm 32. Well, the reality is, what does this do for you when you're 42? And what if you, one of the questions we'll get into in a minute is, what are those things that you would tell your 30-year-old self 11 years ago that you wish you would have kind of learned earlier than, now? But before we get into that, I thought it would be a really good icebreaker for Milton, and he'll probably say that he's not going to remember this. So, and I don't know exactly the details, but I'm hoping that I can get him onto this enough. Will you explain to the listeners? I think it was after the Memorial Day or the day before Memorial Day. You did the workout. You went out and you. Enjoyed some alcoholic beverages, and then you were placing some orders for some customers the next day, and it was and you had
good memory. Jesus.
I know. Can you just walk me through what the order
That's when
was?
I ordered like I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it is.
It was shrimp or something,
yeah,
some type of seafood.
I think the customer. I sell food for a living.
Yeah, Milton works at Cisco,
and the customer requests one case of shrimp, and each case of shrimp is like $300. So, well, I don't know how the one from here turned to an 8. So it was a big mistake.
So Milton shows up with 8 cases.
It costs a little bit of money, but it was fine. But
and he tried to blame it on the workout. He tried to blame it on a bunch of stuff.
It was on the workout. because I've been drinking for so many years. I never had that mistake. I think it was that combination. But it was definitely the workout.
So Milton has been working with Cisco, and then Ryan, which makes me a little nervous because Ryan, his background is this, like media. He works for Motor Racing Network. He's been there for how many years?
Just finished my 19th.
19 years.
Started number 20.
So we were setting this up, and I'm just waiting for Ryan to slowly. That's why I waited till exactly 5 o'clock to walk in here, so that I couldn't get 15. Because Ryan's just going to start picking things apart. Like, the first thing he said was, "Okay, I get the comfortable chairs." And
yeah, I mean, I don't know if people can really kind of make it out, but it's like, yeah. So we're going to be over here lounging. We want you guys staring into the light and sitting in these plastic chairs. Really nice ones, though. Really, IKEA's best. IKEA's best.
We amortized those chairs over the last 5 years. We've really got our money out of them. Okay, so let's get into the first piece of this, which I guess starting with Ryan, maybe walk us through what that 11-year process looked like. What are some of the different? I guess we'll start with, what do you see as the biggest difference from 11 years ago to now with not just Vitality, but working out in general? Like, how would you explain that?
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest difference in Vitality, I mean, obviously, is just the setting of it all. I mean, you go from we were kind of nestled into a corner, not a whole lot back over there. A lot more turf, softer rubber, that type of stuff. But I mean, just the sheer size of it. I mean, just between the initial programs that started out, I mean, you were most classes were 5 people, and a lot of time it was you and I.
What was a 7:30 PT session?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Steve actually would do the warm-ups because he'd be like, "Oh, I feel bad for this guy. I better jog with him because nobody knows our routes." But now you look at where the CrossFit program is grown to, and then what EvoFit is becoming even more so recently.
Yeah.
I mean, just the sheer size and yet it still kind of has that same grouping and feeling to it all the whole time. So I guess just the large nature of it. For me personally, it's just become something where it was like, drive, gains. And now you talk about changing in age. It's more just like maintain, like get to the, and I say it in a joking way, get to the next day, but like, think of it as, what, I do want to work out tomorrow. Don't want to die. I don't want to, be uncomfortable doing it. So I'll just be a little smarter. I make better choices.
I think learning to figure out when you're going to push yourself to really hurt, and when you're like, I don't know if it's really worth it today. Like, today might not be the day. Whereas 10 years ago, it was like every single day you were gonna end up in a puddle of your own sweat, blood, and tears. For what? So we could, so you could write your name on the board and someone could, see, what I mean?
That's what it's all about.
It's crazy.
The whiteboard, yeah.
But now,
a couple months ago, Ryan told me, I could tell he's gotten wiser. I won't say older. He's gotten wiser. He told me, he said, Philip, if Steve programs a workout that is new, we've never done before, he said, hold back a little bit.
That way you can get the little star next year.
Little star next time.
It's going to come back around.
I was like, it comes back. Yeah.
And if you are getting older, like some of us, if you go all out that first time, there's no chance. And getting it back the next time it comes around.
I think I look at my scores from last time, and I think I was cheating. Damn. I'm like, how the hell I got there? I mean, shit.
Now, what do you think, Milt? What do you think the biggest difference over the years, again, personally, with the CrossFit, with the building, with the programs, whatever your journey, what do you think has changed the most? What do you recognize the most as when you talk about differences?
You got soft, and we love it.
Why would you say? What would you say? How would you say the old Steve wasn't soft?
I believe now you realize our bodies are breaking down a little bit, and your programming is really. I always talk about programming. People always ask me, oh, CrossFit is expensive and this why. I said what it makes is the coaching. I think the place is beautiful and everything. Coming from, the old Vitality, it was nice. It was something different. As soon as I came through that door, it didn't look like the typical gym because I got there by default. Just need
How?
to do something in my life. You have a little sign, like maybe a 6x4
Coming
right there
soon.
by the NASCAR. No, it say
a yard
gym.
sign, cross a gym this way with an
Yeah,
arrow.
and I had to give credit to my wife because my wife's like, you got to do something. I was so stressed out. I mean, I used to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. So, and she's just like, you got to do something. And I always pass the sign. Going to work. I said, let me stop by. And seeing that box, that I didn't see no dumbbells. I didn't see anything. And the welcome, that was Laura the first time. I was like, all right. I signed in, I did the intro, and it was great. And I love that place. I think that place is, it was legit. Coming over here, actually, I thought you're going to turn into like a, I don't know, like a multi-facility that they don't care more about the people. Because at the end, that's what I love, the people.
Yeah.
Like everybody struggle, all ages, right? From 15 years old, like Nate was, I guess. He was 12 when he came over here. And it was good. I never was active in my life. So to challenge right there when we came over here and it didn't turn through that business model, it's still like the family environment. And seeing the Evil Fit growing so much that you can interact through people, and even there, we say hello to them and everything. I think the whole group is just great. I think it make it better because
Yeah.
there's more people who got the opportunity to try something different that is not CrossFit and they're afraid of.
Do you think you guys would have? Do you think you would have benefited from doing EvoFit in the beginning before you did CrossFit back 10, 11 years ago?
The way you do it,
Yeah.
yes. I seen what it is. I even tell people, people ask me right now if I want to enjoy it, and I say, just think about it. You don't want to go straight to CrossFit. You're going to do EvoFit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you do,
Yeah.
but I think EvoFit will help you with a lot of things that you do.
Conditioning. I mean, conditioning up front. I think that, where you saw more of the on-ramp programs. If somebody's complete goal is to get to CrossFit, I think it's a great on-ramp, if only just to kind of get your engine moving and get that part of things and getting used to moving and doing different movements within the workout instead of just, I'm a runner or I'm a whatever swimmer or things like that. It adds a little bit of everything into it. But I mean, even if somebody doesn't want to get into CrossFit, I mean, it's a
almost,
program
it's a
it's
program
completely
that it
different. I
just-
mean, you
Yeah.
want to see me get wrung out. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Put me through one of those.
programming last week. I even call it. This is an Evo workout, and he kicked my. I mean, it was horrible. I was like, oh my god, this is all deceiving.
I think that you rewind 10 or 11 years, and it's much easier to bring people into CrossFit when you're a brand new gym because everyone's kind of new. When you fast forward and you've got two of you guys and a majority of people that have been here 5, 6, 7 years, it's very tough to bring a brand new person off the street and then integrate them into a group of people that's been doing this for as long as you, because there are people out there that say, oh, you should demo every single movement every single day and all this, and I get it, but I can spend way more time talking about strategy, talking about or whatever it is. I don't have to ever show you guys what a thruster is. I don't have to ever show you, okay, hey, here's how we're going to do a toes to bar. We can talk about some points of performance to get better at cycling or whatever. But when you bring a new person in, they don't know anything. I think it's really intimidating for them to come into that environment. And I think more of a self-confidence piece is bringing them into EvoFit, letting them get comfortable with the facility, letting them get comfortable with kind of how the flow works. And most people will say, you know what, I thought this was CrossFit. This is actually what I want. And they stay there. And then we can kind of push the people that we think would be kind of that are looking for that extra
the
that
meatheads.
loading, the meatheads, we push them over to CrossFit, and it's a very simple process. So I think that's why, back in the day, I probably would have loved to have the EvoFit program, but you didn't have to have it because you were such a new gym, and we were growing at such a rate that you could always throw people in, and there was 4 or 5 people that were in the same boat, so you can kind of link them together. It's funny because I always talk to people, and I'm like, man, it's so hard to look back. I'm always trying to focus on what's next or how to, because here's this challenge. The challenge is, how do you get people to stay for 11 years or 10 years? That's very uncommon in the gym world. How in the world have you guys stayed for a decade without going to do something else? Let's start with you, Milton. Like, why not go to Orange Theory, or why not go to Barry's Boot Camp or whatever?
I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's just the people. I mean, I like their, like, it's on time. Like, life is so crazy that that's something that attracts me a lot. You start on time, and you finish, and another class start. You gotta get you start. I think that having that structure, for me, that's what I like. I don't like, not because you pay for the money, not because you come to do a workout, because sometimes, you cut your losses, right? Sometimes you just go with the mood, you just want to move. But it's still, the place brings you to a better person. So I don't want to bring it back. COVID-19, right? I did CrossFit for so many years. And just in 2 months, it just got me. It mentally just, it's a shame to say that.
Yeah.
That it just destroyed me completely. Like, everything that I built, it was, and I'm not talking about physical, because you can always build it, right? But just mentally, it was driving me nuts. Like, I couldn't do nothing. My daughter was doing workouts, and I was like, I ain't doing it. I was sitting drinking tequila and eating ice cream for 2 months.
Sounds pretty good.
And it was...
Philip's like, okay.
That's pretty good.
It felt good, but no, for 2 months straight.
Yeah.
So that aspect, I think that's what it bring me over here for so many years. I realized that. Is the community is, pushing yourself. Even those days that you don't want to go that hard, still you put in your brain and focus on something else, And
I think for guys, you two are a perfect example of this. Having a 500-pound deadlift probably doesn't matter that much.
Not anymore.
I think for you guys, it's the mental part of, Ryan's in meetings all day long trying to manage people and whatever, and Milton's dealing with customers and the stress of dealing with a customer-facing business. I think that it's way more about the mental health of it than it is the physical part of it. And I think that's kind of the shift that most people are going to see is the wiser we are, the more we start to realize that it's not about the numbers we're putting up. It's about, man, if I can just get in here, I'll be able to deal with people in a much better light than if I didn't have this outlet.
It does. I think it makes you better. It is. It clears your whole. I finish. I go home. I just start working and sit in the computer for 2 hours, and I feel good. I feel beat up, but mentally you focus on that. I think that's the difference.
A happy dog is a tired dog. Yeah. So I'm serious. Think about it. You talk about taking that break off, and it's like, well, man, I'm not getting that rush, that push, that part where I have to wring it out just a little bit to get through it. If I don't have that, I don't have that push. And it's hard to generate that on your own. Yeah. And I think that's been the huge thing. Obviously everybody knows that about CrossFit. It's the group atmosphere, whether it's this box over here or here at Vitality. It's always been the part that's the draw is the community part of it all. And if you're not getting that release, and if it's not the same itch, or they're not scratched to that itch without the people being there, I think that that's a huge part of
it's mental
of what you're missing. And for me, that's what it is. I'm a creature of habit. I don't know if you know this about me. But when do I show up? I show up at 7:30 weekdays. And there are a set number of rest days that I have. And if I'm in town, I'm coming in at 7:30 because it fits right into my schedule. This has been the best setup for me ever, even after the move, because he got closer to my office. That for me is like habit creates happiness. That's what I've been able to do for this. And then the other part of that is just that release and be able to, kind of get out and shake it loose. Rather than stand behind my desk all day and then go home, and even taking my dog for walks not enough. You gotta.
It's kind of like I
have a little something more.
Milton worked for Cisco. I used to work for Budweiser. Same thing. Be front facing customers all day, dealing with that just nonstop. Phone calls, emails, meetings, customer calling you, running last minute stuff to their restaurant or whatever it was, the only thing that would release all that tension and stress is when I came to the gym every day.
Yeah.
I needed it. If I didn't, I would carry it with me home. But for that hour, and I don't think it was the workout. It was partly the workout. It was the people that was around me. I just forget about all of it.
Yeah, because even it doesn't matter about background you have. That's the best thing, right? You see
Yeah.
people that you know that you would never, in a million years, you would deal with that person in
Yeah.
a regular setting. That it just make you better. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if you select who's coming or not. But it just everybody. I haven't seen an asshole around here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but in reality, I never see somebody that is. I see somebody with big egos.
Yeah.
But
And what happens to those guys?
I mean,
Yeah.
they come with big ones and come out drained, like, you know, I showed you for 3 months. I mean, in reality, you can see in the faces, like,
Like, uh-oh.
It's a self-correcting problem. You know, we've always said, you know, fixing your ego will happen very quickly when our girls in here will walk circles around you. We used to watch Ginny, Laura, and Jess, and all these girls they're so unassuming, and then you'd get this big meathead in here that thought he knew everything about working out, didn't want to, he wasn't as coachable, and then once he realized these females ran circles around him, then all of a sudden they'd start asking questions, they'd open up, they'd realize that, man, I'm in my own way. And I think that's the cool part. And you talk about the people, that's the luck of this whole thing. I say all the time that the luck of this is we got 50 people first, and those 50 people just happen to be really, really good people. And because they were cool, they went out and got their friends, and good people usually hang out with good people. So when we built our base of members, it just happened so organically that we got the right people. We appealed to families. You know, Ryan had a family, you had a family. These guys were families because, you know, I was a family guy. My kids grew up in the gym. Jess was at the gym. So it just made sense. It wasn't like this. I don't know if I could have done it on my own, because I needed someone to kind of soften that edge to me. I wasn't as mature as I could have been or should have been out of the Marine Corps, and I needed that. I needed that kind of softer, or else I would have only went after, you know, these guys that wanted to compete and lift a lot of weights, and that's unfortunately not the way to build a strong community. So that was by dumb luck that I think we got the right people, and then, you know, from there they just got out and went out and brought their friends, you know.
I love it. I mean,
Well, and you did have a competitive group of people in the
Yeah.
beginning. I mean,
did.
and I think that does lend itself to. I mean, you didn't drive it,
Yeah.
but I mean, shoot, there were times
That's how
where
Steve
we
found
would,
me.
you know,
He wanted me to go to the games and have a
Well,
vitality shirt
They actually
on
had a
or something.
CrossFit Kids program at the games.
the water boy.
We thought we could get Philip in
Hey,
there.
Sam, you need a
they're
water.
not asking for birth certificates. Just shave the beard.
Yeah, we did have some. It was cool because we had some people that were super fit, but they were just really cool people. They were just really cool guys, and it's hard to find that.
unique, different personalities and just walks of life. You know, I mean, was it Rocky, the Navy SEAL?
Yeah.
He would come in. John L. would come in. I mean, just
Yep.
guys that were, you know, super, super strong, people that were super, super fast and everything. It was amazing to see. And again, because it was kind of early and everybody wasn't across all of it really good. It was like you had your specialists and you knew who was going to be, you know, strong that day. And so you'd always be watching. I mean, the literal whiteboard back then
Yep.
where we would all write it up.
You remember Buck? We were doing, I'll never forget it, Brenson Buckner played for the Panthers, and now he's coaching. Is he still with the Cardinals?
I thought he was with the Raiders.
He might have left and went to the Raiders, but he's an amazing D-line coach. Very well known. And he came in, and he is the largest human I think I've seen in person. He's probably 6'5" or 6'6", maybe 320 or 330. And he dropped a lot of weight at Vitality, but we were push pressing one day at Old Vitality, and he put 265 on the bar. I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty decent push press. And he backed off the rack and did 2 or 3 strict press and looked over to the left at me and says, am I doing this right? And I had my mouth open, like jaw to the ground. I'm like, Buck, yeah, that's a strict press. That's pretty solid. 265 for 3. We'll take it. And it's just people like that you had so many different people that were so gifted. It was cool because that happened all the time. And remember, you think back, guys like Tanner has been here. Remember when Tanner was running the endurance program?
Yeah.
He would.
What happened with that guy? He's still playing golf? You only play 9 holes now?
It was COVID. He started playing golf.
Okay.
He got away from the gym.
And it's cool to see the transformation. I think when you look at Ryan's journey, it's kind of an interesting one because he
started with hair.
Well,
And it ended up gray and bald. That's awesome. It's a great story.
He starts coming 7:30 a.m. It's me and him and PT for like 4 or 5 months together. And I couldn't even tell you, I'm embarrassed to say this, I don't even know when he started coaching for me because it feels like he's been coaching here for 8 years, and maybe it has been, but I doubt it. But it naturally progressed from that into, hey, I'd love to pick up a couple hours here and there. And now, he's a staple. On Tuesdays, he coaches, he opens, he does a little bit of everything. And he's been doing that. Here he is 11 years into it. So it's cool to see.
Now his son's in here.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
his kid, who must have been 5 or 6 years old when you first started.
Yeah. Wow.
And now Riley is driving, and he cleans up the gym, sets up for the coaches. He is by far my favorite employee right now. On staff.
That's because he is
heard that?
terrified of you. He'll text
That's
me
why
and be
he's
like,
the favor.
Steve told me to do this. Should I do it like this? And I was like, I don't know. He told you.
That's
Ask him.
funny.
But
He'll
no,
text me and
he
be like,
loves it.
hey,
Loves it.
I was thinking, do you want me to set it up this way? I said, yeah, man, let's do it. He's just, it's so cool to see. It makes me feel old. You must feel really old, but it makes me feel old seeing a kid that was like 5 or 6 years old, and now he's 16 driving to my gym to, set things up for me. So that's really cool to see that whole transformation. But then the flip side is, I think Milton, will you talk us through your journey of kind of the ups and downs? I think I've seen you go from your heaviest would be what?
215,
215 to your lightest was
175.
and he was a lean, mean machine.
Yeah, man.
What'd you say was?
I know.
Because now I'm fat. I'm fat. I'm getting chubby again. I'm roll over here.
So you say you're fat. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm just saying, what do you think is what was the difference when you were 175 and just completely dialed in? Do you think COVID kind of dragged you into the deep end and now you're kind of getting back out of it?
Yeah, definitely. It's with that many years, I never been an athlete. I really was lazy. I'm still lazy. I think it's just workout is part of my life now. Like if I don't have that, like you say normal, right? That's my normal. It was not normal. So COVID really messed me up. Like I didn't want to do nothing. It's kind of, I wouldn't call it depression, but it was kind of like, Jesus, I can't do anything.
But once you miss a couple, it's easier and easier. Every time you miss a day, it's easier and easier just to,
It is. It's like when you go on vacation, right? It's not like you go on vacation, you prepare your own food and everything. If I go on vacation, I go all out.
We have fun.
I'm too much fun. But I go out like, oh, jeez. And the first day, it's like the first day. You're going to feel like crap. You just have to make it here.
Yep.
But then it was, you woke up the next day. I still woke up at 4 a.m. And it just was nothing. It was like that empty space. So I think that's what I started drinking again. And it just, because it got me tired, I was going to bed late. My schedule changed. So I woke up a little late. I don't have to deal with that in the morning. But now, I went from 174 to almost 200, now 192, but just it takes me longer to, start the process to get it done.
But I think that's the lesson that I wish so many people, I hope we have 15 listeners at least, because I think that's the message that I want people to hear is just because you start working out doesn't mean you're going to have 10 years of this baseline where it's just, man, I was dialed in, rocked in for 10 years. There's going to be the ups and downs. And I think people have to anticipate that, expect it, and then understand it's not the end of the world. Because
you
look,
can't beat yourself up about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I mean, if you sit there and be like,
the problem
I'm a
with
piece of
the
junk.
human beings is like they go the offside, right? They said to be like, okay, I know how to start. You know, I'm happy that he opened. I'm working out and everything. I couldn't just be like, Jesus, I live it. I mean, whatever. I think that's the problem with people. They don't want to go through that pain again because, you know, it hurts coming back and it hurts to get back to, you know, to the horse. And I think that's where people don't want to do the hard work.
And the hard part is making them understand that, yeah, it's going to hurt to go back through that start again. But the flip side of not starting and seeing what happens in the next 3 or 4 years, that's what people always overlook is they might not be getting the results they want. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants this amazing result.
The magic pill.
But the reality is, what if it keeps you from gaining weight? What if it just keeps you the same? The alternative is if you don't work out, they're not thinking about what that's going to happen and all the bad things are going to start to happen. They're looking at it like, gosh, I'm doing all this work. Why am I not getting the results? And they are. They're just, maybe their nutrition's not dialed in. Maybe they're
correct.
Maybe they're just maintaining that same level of fitness, which is fine because most people, when you go to the doctor, and they're actually surprised that your year over year is staying the same, they'll tell you, gosh, normal people come in here and they're putting on 12 to 14 pounds a year. And you do that year over year, and this is what we're stuck with.
At one point, my doctor say, I was, I think, 38. And he said, Milton, if you don't get your shit together, you want to die. I mean, you're by 40. You ain't going to make it to 40. I'm like, I mean, you're messing with me. I said, no. You know, I always make that joke that I have heavy bones. That's why I was so heavy. He told me straight out, no, you fat. So you got to do something about it. You know, I went to your wife, Jess, and I got keto. And, you know, and I did keto for a while, and it was great. I mean, my body worked great on keto. And when I went back to the doctor was like, whatever you're doing. You know, he asked me what I was doing. I said, hey, I do keto, and I always work out. You know, I would work out. He goes, you know what? The way I went to school, that diet is not what I recommend, but it's working for you. Go ahead. I mean, I can't tell you don't do something that has been working for you. So it's all yourself.
Everybody has to find what they can do sustainable. I mean, anybody can do. You can get through that, you know, a paleo challenge or a nutrition challenge at the beginning of the year, but you also have to look at it as like, all right, look at my life. I mean, bless you. You're up on Sundays and you are prepping like you can't believe, and I see it, and it's like, man, that's awesome.
If you're listening right now, he's talking about Steve, not me or me.
Yeah. Well, I've seen your prep too. It's more like mine, where it's like, yeah, you know, I might need a couple of 6-packs to go with this meal.
Yeah, how's my cook? But you only got 2 hamburgers, and it's 5 days a week.
But you really do. You have to find something. All right, be realistic with yourself. And be like, all right, and make. And then don't make deals like, all right, well, you know, it's okay if I do this because I do this. You can't make those type of deals.
I love when people, you know, Jess is talking about nutrition and everything. Say, so can I drink beer while I do keto? I'm like, dude, you know, it's just you try to do something, just try to do it the right way. Like I told Jessica, I tried to do it for like a lifestyle. I mean, it sounds cliche, but I really did it. I didn't do the challenge. I just want to just figure out how this worked for me, and I did it for a whole year straight.
And you think about it, we think about structure and making it so it works for people. It's got to be sustainable. If 7:30 did not work for Ryan, if that wasn't convenient for his schedule, I don't care how disciplined he is or how structured he is, he's not going to stick with it. If 5 a.m. was not, if it didn't make you feel a certain way or didn't give you the result that you were looking for, there's no way you're getting up at 4 in the morning.
Well, when I started, I was coming at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. That was my time. It was 5, but because of work, I was running late. And, you know, I know that young. So I need a couple
That's cool.
minutes.
Nobody really runs late for classes. It's nice.
So,
It's really,
but
really good.
But not about running late. It's because my body need a little warm up before I even
yeah.
start. I couldn't just go and hammer it like like everybody else just show. Like Jeff Moore. Jeff Moore is like, hi guys.
No, to be fair,
And
he does a couple of good swings
Oh,
of the
yeah, yeah,
PVC,
yeah.
To get his
Like,
swing.
everything
warmed
good,
up.
fellas?
It's
Good,
to
yeah.
go.
I'm a stretching. I'm like, oh, everything hurts. I'm okay. I'm like, he's inhuman. But then I had to switch everything. I said, okay, if I want to continue doing CrossFit, I had to find a time.
Yeah.
The time was 5 in the morning. And it would suck. But you know what? You had to find that time. Then maybe 7 worked for him. People don't want to wake up in the morning. Oh, I will always say, you work out 5 in the morning? You're nuts?
Yeah.
I'm sleeping. What I'm doing now.
Yep.
So I spit in there and I got it in my face. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you always have to find time. If it's
crazy.
important for you enough, you're going to do it. You're
Yep.
going to make it
Well,
happen.
it's crazy. Milton will come at 5 a.m., but you'll see him back here at 5, 6, 7 p.m., and his daughter's working out.
Yep.
And he's right back here in the
They
afternoon.
will be driving at 6 p.m.
And that's a pretty cool thing too. Now Ivania's with you. She'll come back in the evenings and she'll hit it. And it's funny to see. I wonder. I would go out on a limb and say she would never be doing CrossFit if it wasn't for her dad doing CrossFit.
I think when I was mentioning to them, like every new CrossFitter, right? Oh, you gotta try, you gotta try. You're like a little puppy, like and annoying the hell out of everybody. And then I stopped doing it, and then she's a grown woman right now. She's 16. She just wanna start looking good and everything, and I guess that's one of the best samples I can give her. I mean, she said one day, "Daddy, I wanna start working out." I was like, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Irma was like, Ivania, and now she even come by herself. I don't, she drives now. She got her driver license, like you said. I don't have to drive her anymore. And even though when I was tired, like, Daddy, can I go? I'm like, oh, God damn it. But I still, what are you going to say to your kids?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
do something good. Now
Yeah.
she drive herself, and she's like,
Yeah.
I got to go. So
And I think that's so cool. I've talked about this numerous times about setting the example and being something that our kids, they're always looking at us, whether we see it or not. You look at a guy like Riley, who I would be shocked with Ryan's personality. He's very laid back. I guarantee you, Ryan didn't make Riley ever do anything physical. It was Riley that just saw Ryan, what he was doing, and just kind of followed suit. And now the kid will text me and be like, hey, what should I do tonight? Because one time I said, hey, every 15 minutes I want you to do a max set of pull-ups. And then it was like every 15 minutes I want you to do 20 seconds max calories on the bike. So now when he comes in, he's looking for that. He wants that. He wants that because, again, he sees everybody else and they see what's going on. And I can't think of anything better than for these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to see their parents getting after it and suffering a little bit and doing something hard. Because the reality is, how many kids are truly doing something hard every single day? Very few.
look at school right now.
Yeah.
Really hard.
I mean, it's madness. And, I'll tell you, my fear is my kids' practice got canceled yesterday because the administration said, we're canceling practice because of inclement weather. We don't want the kids and their parents to travel in the rain. That is the email that I got. That is what our kids are dealing with right now, with this fear from the pandemic that's getting force-fed to them, and now they're becoming conditioned to be like, well, it's raining, we can't practice. I mean, I'm not saying you got to be like the Marine Corps. When it was raining, they'd make us go outside and train in the rain. I'm not saying that, but at some point, these kids, if they don't start doing hard things, it's not gonna get easier for them. It's only gonna get worse. So, I think so many people overlook what the role that they're playing and how big of a role fitness plays in that. For their
people
kids.
need to be challenged, whether it's mental or with schoolwork or things like that, or physically things like that. You need to know your limits, and if you never push yourself to it, you're never going to get as far as you can. And I know this sounds really stupid, cliche, whatever, but I mean, you have to know the limits,
Yeah.
and you have to find an outlet to be able to push it. Now, whether it's CrossFit or if it's EvoFit or if it's just running a marathon or whatever that is for you, I mean, you have to be able to find that physically. But I mean, part of that is also going to be finding that limit mentally to be able to push through when you're in the middle of, mile 18 in a marathon and be like, man, I've got to suck it up and
But that
get
goes
home
back to
with it.
Milton
So-
too. It goes back to him saying it's about the people. I think this is the perfect environment for people to fail and be okay and be comfortable failing. A lot of people don't
because
want
it's
to do
okay.
something because they don't want to look stupid or they don't want to fail because they, whatever. In here, no one's going to make fun of Ryan if he misses a lift. Instead, there'll be 8 people like, "Hey, try it again. I think you can do it again." And now, now they're all cheering for him, and he's playing the crowd, and
Unless I fail one and you text it
well,
to
I
me.
was going to say, I think that there has been some security footage reviews of some of my lifts before with a emoji of a laughy face, like, saw it. It's like, so
Well,
don't,
you guys have to
not,
share that.
the members don't make fun of me. Yes. If Steve or Laura see it, yes, I'm going to hear a
members
lot.
checked
I live in
on
that.
it. Steve did not.
Laura and Jeannie, when I start here, I couldn't clean 185. And they thought it was the funniest thing. I got home and like, this two freaking girls just laughing on me. And I'm like, I don't know if I get mad because they're laughing on me because I couldn't clean it. They were cleaning like nothing. I'm like, God.
I think back those two
You always stick
were
me with them.
animals, and they're both.
Yeah, you give me, I was the little bone that you give to them every Saturday workout. Oh, you with the girls, Milton.
Do you think we could splice in the security footage of when Philip
Dead cockroach 205.
he
And my
squat cleans
clean.
205, gets to the bottom, and just falls straight backwards?
Wow.
Turtle
Everybody
back,
went
went
up.
back, legs in the air, and I was just holding 205.
So we might be able to.
Jerry,
There you go.
Ivan, all of them come running over, make sure I was okay.
We'll see
That's
how
funny.
it. We'll see if we can do that. I don't know how talented Philip is, but we'll test his lateral limits here. So final thoughts. I guess we can finish. You guys can make fun of me for about a minute. You say I'm soft. I would argue that the old Steve. I don't know how different. I don't know that I don't sense that I'm that different from coaching 11 years ago with Ryan as my PT client. I mean, what do you think has been the biggest change?
Well, you're nicer to Agnew. And people may not believe that, but you are so much nicer to him than you used to be. When he came along in the beginning, you tortured this poor 16-year-old.
If the story's true, his dad just dropped him off, said do something with him.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, his father asked you to do it, but still, you look at what you do to him now.
Yeah.
Well, he made
just
me
think
need like
you were used to be
5,000
worse, so.
calories. That's like, damn.
His dad actually dropped him off. He brought him and said, "Hey, can you train my 15-year-old?" And I said, "Oh, sir, 16, 17 is kind of my sweet spot. We really don't have a spot for him." He said, "Okay, cool. So can I drop him off at like 7 tomorrow?" And it caught me off guard. I didn't know what to do.
Hey,
And
he
I
got
said,
you.
I said, "Yeah, sure." So 7 a.m. tomorrow, in comes 15-year-old Agnew. So I just used him as my assault bike Aerodyne tester. So I'd write something nasty up on the board that I wanted the class to do, and he'd go test it. And he'd come in, he'd be
Guinea pig.
I'd be like, "Hey, what'd you eat for breakfast?" He's like, "Oh, I had a Pop-Tart and 2 sausage McMuffins on the way."
He's about to
And
send
I
it
said,
off.
"Okay, it's 20-second sprints, rest 5 minutes." And he's throwing up all over the place. And he's like, "Coach, I just threw up." I said, "Okay, you got 3 minutes of rest and then get back on there. Let's roll." So yeah, you're okay. I mean, is that
So that's the reason now he's hurt?
No.
He's always complaining that he's hurt because he doesn't want to do your stuff anymore. He's like, if I maintain myself that I'm hurt, I ain't doing this shit anymore.
But it's funny, like, Ted will say the same thing. The old Steve would have done this, the old Steve would have done that. I still think I'm pretty rigid. I'm not like
I think because most of the people here are here for a long time. Kind of the limits now. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe he's less soft as more as he's just been worn down.
he's like, this guy never listened to that. He's never gonna clean 200 pounds. Just forget it, Milton. It's okay.
that's a good way to put it. I got a lot of miles on me, and I think I'm better at reading people now, where I used to try and force a square peg into a round hole. And now I'm like, hey, listen, it's cool if everybody doesn't have to be super motivated to, like you said. I think there's a lot of people that can come in here and just take it one day and survive. And I think that's great. Whereas before I was so diehard and I wanted people to push so hard because I wanted them to find that.
Well, you did it from a place of you wanted to know, you wanted those
far you
people to
could
know how far they really could go. They
Yeah.
may not have believed in themselves, and
Yeah.
and you
It does.
always did. You always
does.
believe in people, and maybe sometimes too much. Oh man, yeah, totally. 265 on that? Oh yeah, you could totally. Yeah, that's like you all day.
I've experienced that for the past 8 months.
Exactly.
I know.
Like there's
You're the new partner.
some
Yeah.
faux or irrational confidence at times. But no, I really do think it was from a place of anytime you would push people like that, it was because you want them to realize that no, you can. They may realize they can. They just don't want
Yeah.
to sometimes. And I think
You don't
that's
wanna.
probably what you have gotten more in tune with over the years is like, this is the person that wants to come here and get a workout in and then head to the house. They're not
It's-
worried about where so-and-so was
Yeah.
on the whiteboard or anything like that. You probably just do a better job of
They just
reading
wanna
that.
sweat.
It's like Saturday workouts. Saturday workouts. That's the reason I love it so much. Because I asked Steve, how you choose these things? Why you had to choose the team? Well, we can just. He said, no, man. I always show somebody that is good. The other one is not that good. So that's why. And then he started pairing me with people. I'm like, damn, they suck in this partnership. So I had to push harder. And then I was surprised the thing that I did with a partner. I mean, I always
Yeah.
love having a partner. Like,
Well,
everything.
it's worse though when you're saying, "Oh man, I'm the strong partner." It's worse when you look around and you're like, "Oh wow,
Oh,
he
no,
really
I-
doesn't think
no,
that
no.
I'm very good." Oh my god, these are
No,
animals,
or
and
at
you put
least
me with them.
Or at least you look around like, well, I'm gonna push it harder. That's a good thing. I take it today.
I think that it's you do the math really quick. That's one thing that I've never given up is the programming part. You got 52 weeks in a year. We've had 10 years, 10 and a half years of Saturdays. It's like 600 and some Saturdays that we've programmed, and it's I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever, as long as I own Vitality, I'll never probably give up the programming. That's just the one thing that I really enjoy that part of it. And we talked about
Sometimes I like just sit down right there, feel like crap, and cursing at my coach, and I say, just trust the programming, man. Just trust.
And there's a lot of people that I'm sure that have some heartburn about what the process is, and it's hard for them to ever see it from the other side of the curtain. And if you don't have your attitude where you're like, hey, trust the process, and you try and break down every workout like, oh, I would have done it this way or that way, odds are, I'm not saying I'm better at that than you. I've just done it for a decade. And when you do it for that long, you've made so many mistakes along the way that when someone says, oh, you should have done it this way, trust me, I've thought of that 17 different ways, and it's just, this is the way that works the best.
I think it's that the problem that I have with your programming is that you're making it like it's gonna hurt. Yeah. Like if you want to have that little start, it's gonna hurt, and I'm getting old, man. I'm like, I used to see my 5 a.m. people, Ben Becerra, Lance. When that guy Lance, when they used to go.
Who is this person you speak of?
Now he's a Peloton guy.
Oh yeah.
He puts speeders and go fast. And Thomas, try to keep up with them. I mean, they're machines. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you like to be like, they're only 27, I'm 40, so I have to let it be. But they push you, and I think that's the best part. The programming make you force. You can always do one more roll ball. You
Yeah.
can like the bike. I couldn't finish the bike today.
It only
If
hurts
Spencer
my
was
dad.
here right now, he would say just because you're 40 is not an excuse. He would say you've had more years to train and be that much better than him.
Yeah,
With
realize when
21.
you can got your losses and just go. It's okay, bro.
Wait, it's funny you talk about his programming. Over the years, I've dropped in places and I steal workouts, and I'll send it to him, or I'll come up with my own. Well, this year, it got to a point. It's like, man, I am getting my ass handed to me every day. I can't even find my name on the whiteboard. I'm looking on Wi-Fi, and I'm like, still scrolling, and I'm like, man,
Did I put my score in?
I am the last one
Ah, man.
on the
It's
hard
funny.
side. So I went ahead and I was sitting at home. I may have enjoyed a little drink or something like that. I'm gonna come up with some Ryan workouts. I came up with some Ryan workouts, and I'm like, hey, here's a couple you might want to sprinkle in here and there. You need a little ego boost, maybe something with a.
What'd you say you're going to
Stuff
be?
that I like.
Something scaled? You're going to be a.
Elite scaled.
yeah, this morning, yeah.
I have elected to find my, pick and choose those moments, and then there's going to be those days where I say, you know what, today I'm going to beat Steve
in my workout
by scaling. But
I wonder what that button would look like on. When would you have to highlight? Like would it be like?
Yeah, plus facing down.
Oh man. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys being here. We are a touch over 25 minutes over time frame, but I knew this was going to be a fun conversation. I think that it's not very common that you can find two people that I enjoy being around as much as I do these guys, and they've been around for over a decade at the gym, and it was cool to kind of take them through the time lapse of the last 11 years. So I appreciate Milton and Ryan jumping on with us. And for this episode of Built by Vitality, we are signing off. Thanks for listening.